are you? Please share with
Good.
us your story.
I am honored to be able to share my pregnancy experience with all of you. The moment I found out I was pregnant, I was filled with emotions. I can sum my emotions up into one statement, but I'm going to have to say it two times. Oh my gosh, I'm going to be a mom. And oh my gosh, I'm going to be a mom. My husband and I sat on our bathroom floor staring at a positive pregnancy test until eventually he looks over at me and he says, "What do we do?" I, who had planned, prepared, and researched for that very moment, looked at my husband with confidence and said, "I know exactly what to do. Let's call a doctor." We called the doctor and they were able to get us an appointment for the very next day, except for she says one thing: your husband cannot come to the appointment. Due to COVID-19, no dads allowed. The very next day, my husband and I did go to the appointment. He waited in the car. I finally ran down saying, "We're having a baby." After that, we called our parents. I vividly remember my mom running around her house saying, "My baby's having a baby." We started planning the baby list and getting the nursery ready. Later on down the pregnancy, I remember one night I was rocking in pain on our bedroom floor. I went to the ER, and that is when I found out that I have a rare condition called trigeminal neuralgia. Because of this, my pregnancy then turned into a high risk pregnancy. So not only did I have to see my regular OB, I now had to see a high risk OB and a neurologist. But thanks to the hard work of my high risk OB and my neurologist, they were able to come up with a treatment plan for me in order for me to kind of not suffer as much from what the condition brings on. Fast forward to 2 weeks when I'm supposed to give birth. I wake up, I feel swollen, I feel a pain. It's not too bad, but me and my husband did the only thing that new parents and a first time mom could think to do. We got in our car and drove straight to my mom's house. I wanted her to look at me just to make sure that I was okay. And I figured for the rest of my time being a mom, I was going to call her with this kind of stuff anyway. And she tells me to go to the hospital. I will tell you that I went to the hospital back and forth 4 times before I gave birth. All the times they sent me home, they said it was new mom jitters, or the pain's just normal. All these other things that kind of made me feel brushed off. But I will say the fourth time something did happen. Something did change. There was a nurse who was there with the doctor. Once the doctor left, the nurse said, "I am very concerned about you. Do me a favor. In 4 to 5 hours, 4 to 5 hours, come back if you're not feeling good." So my husband and I did just that. Now, I won't call it a coincidence. The term I'm going to use is it was a blessing, because what happened in that time frame was they switched from the night shift to the day shift. So this time I was under care of a different OB, and when she went to call my regular OB to see what to do, she said that she didn't answer because she was helping another mom. So she had to call the second in line for my pregnancy, which was my high risk OB. Now, her eyes got kind of big. I don't know what my high risk OB said, but what I do know is they said, "We're going to induce you right now." So my husband and I, being new parents and me being a first time mom, did the only thing that we could think to do. We called my mom and said, "We're having a baby, but due to COVID-19, parents can't come." So they go ahead, they start plugging me into the different machines, and they start inducing me. Everything seems to be going fine until 10 hours later, they come in and they say, "We want to put an oxygen mask on you." Now, my mom, who has still been on the phone since the time I called her saying that I was going to be getting induced, says, "Well, what's that for? What's the reason?" The nurse kind of brushes her off. This is a different nurse than the one who gave us the 4 to 5 hour tip. But she says, "Oh, it's just a precaution." Us believing that they're, the medical workers, they know what's best, we let things keep going. And 17 hours later, I give birth to our baby girl. But something happens. Well, better yet, something doesn't happen. She's not crying. Now, I'm not a doctor, but I've watched enough movies and enough videos for my research to know that when a baby cries, when a baby's born, they're supposed to cry. So I remember them rushing my baby off to a corner. I didn't really get a good glimpse of her face. And the nurses start working on her. My husband walks all the way around because he wants to know what's happening. And eventually they say we need to take this baby to the NICU. My mom, who 17 hours later is still on the phone, she refused to miss my first birth, is yelling what's happening. I am, while I'm, finishing out, giving birth, the extra parts, I'm trying to figure out the same thing. I tell my husband, go follow that baby wherever they take her. Eventually, they come back in, and my husband says, we're going to have to make a decision to send her to another hospital. They didn't give me much information, but there's an experimental treatment that happens at Children's National, and they can't help her here. And it's time sensitive because due to the weather, of course, I had a winter baby, they can't helicopter her. They have to drive via ambulance. And I figured something is better than nothing. And I knew one day I was going to have to make a decision about multiple things in my child's life. I just didn't know it was going to happen so soon. She was born not breathing at full capacity. We sign the papers. I actually get to see the baby before they take her over into the ambulance. I go back to my room and I start to pack my things. A nurse comes in and says, we haven't discharged you yet. I said, yeah, but they're taking my baby to Children's National and I'm leaving to go be with her. She said, yes, but the doctor hasn't agreed to discharge you yet. And I said, yes, but my baby's leaving to Children's National and I'm going to go leave to be with her. My husband doing this head shake thing that he does when he knows that I'm going to steadfast in what I say, tells the nurse you might want to go ahead and get the doctor. The doctor comes in, agrees to discharge me. I scribble down my name on some forms. They give me a goodie bag. It has a Perry bottle and a couple of other disposable underwear, just things to be able to take with me when I go. My husband grabs a wheelchair and takes me to the car. The first place that we go is to the house. We go to the house because I want to grab lots of clothes to make sure that I can stay there for as long as possible because I wasn't coming home until my baby could come home with me. My brother is waiting outside because he wants to drive us to DC to make sure we get dropped off okay because I had my baby in January 2021. A lot was happening in that area at that time. So I see my baby. She's wrapped in an ice cocoon, and time starts to pass. And they eventually say the word, she can go home. We're filled with excitement, but we're also confused because they haven't told us what's wrong with our baby. Come to find out, she's perfectly fine. What they say is a placenta specialist is going to get in contact with you and give you insight on what happened during your birth. We finally get the call from the placenta specialist, and they tell me these things. Thing one is that my placenta is shaped like a peanut and the umbilical cord had detached. Thing two, there was scarring both inside and outside of my placenta. And thing three was the scariest of them all. There were signs of hemorrhaging. Now, I say all this to say that I am forever grateful that I had the courage to keep going and to keep trying to figure out what was wrong with my health. I went back 4 times just to get the quality of care. And luckily I did because me or possibly my baby wouldn't even be here if I didn't. I was in the middle of DC and trying to figure out health things. I remember I needed a mom support group and I really didn't know where to go for that. I needed to monitor my blood pressure. Keep in mind, I'm not that far off from giving birth, and I wish I knew a tool to use for that. I wish I was able to have extra healthcare providers to kind of keep guiding me through this, and I wouldn't have been afraid to go to various places to get feedback. But I didn't know about all this because I didn't expect any of this when I started out that very moment with all the emotions of having a baby. I would like to say that my baby is going on 9 months. She's happy, she's healthy. And I would also like to give a special shout out to my wonderful husband, my family, and Fran from Reach, who would check on me throughout. They truly care about moms. And again, I want to thank all of you for letting me share my story with the goal of giving you all the courage to speak up for yourself if you feel like something's wrong. And thank you for your time.